Welcome back. Our final guest tonight has had an eventful few weeks. She's been in and out of the celebrity Big Brother house, and while she was there, she got the bad news that her rock idol ex-husband had died. Please welcome Angie Bowie. What an entrance.
Great. Nice to see you. Thank you for inviting me. Hi, everybody.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very honored to be in Ireland.
Move over
okay.
here. Yeah, I don't smell. This is your first time in Ireland.
It is.
But you should have been here before because you have Irish connections.
I sure should.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Tell us about your Irish connections.
My grandmother was from County Cork, Margaret Mary Dooley.
Right.
She was a mail-order bride. And
how did that work?
I can't really answer that question apart from the fact that it was unfortunate for her.
Okay.
Because the man that married her was not a very nice man, and she was the first woman to get an annulment from the Roman Catholic Church in the 1930s because of his cruelty to her.
Right, okay.
And funnily enough, we were talking about this earlier, and they said, you know, they never talk about stuff like this because it's in the past. So we thought it was kind of important to mention it. So please don't feel like we're raining on anyone's parade, but a lot of us who have come and been immigrants for a while have endured that kind of stuff. So not trying to be a downer, just try to remind everyone that mail-order brides did exist a long time ago, and a lot of them came from Ireland.
Okay.
So
she ended up in America. Mm-hmm. Your parents are American, but you were born in Cyprus. Mm-hmm. And how did you then end up in London at the age of 16?
Well, I went to school in Switzerland. I took my O-levels and A-levels at St. George's, which is on Lake Geneva. And I tried to go to college in England right away, but they said I was too young. So my father was very gung-ho on me not having any chance to get into trouble. So he said, well, how about America? We'll send you to college in America, that'll work. So I went to college there, and I was there for about a semester. And I also promised my dad I wouldn't get pregnant. So I had an affair with a girl and got expelled. And that made me think that maybe there was an issue, some kind of issue that maybe ought to be dealt with. So when I got involved, I started at Kingston Polytechnic, and at the same time I met...
In London?
Mm-hmm, yes. I met a couple of gentlemen from Mercury Records. My mom and I were staying at the White House in Regent's Park, and I went to Leonard's to get my hair cut, and this big, tall dude introduced himself in the elevator. Here, I'm Lou Reisner. I direct yada yada for Mercury Records. And I thought, ooh, an American company. I might be able to work for them. Okay. So I went home and I told my mom, and my mom was very funny. She said, yes, that's a good idea.
What was London like in the late 60s?
It was neat.
Yeah,
it was very cool. It was, the King's Road was big. Carnegie Street was big. There were lots of places to play, lots of bands, lots of people to follow. I mean, and bear in mind, this was at a time when the playlists for the BBC pretty much ruled who was on top of the pops. Yeah. ITV got involved, but they didn't have the power that the BBC had. And all the pirate radio stations were happening. So there was Radio Luxembourg, there was Radio Caroline, and all these different things. And radio stations out of Ireland. So, you know, memories. We were all part of trying to make it.
So when did you first meet David Bowie?
I didn't meet him at first. I saw him in a show. Mercury Records took me there, and Erwin Green, who was the head of Mercury Records, came from Chicago 2 or 3 times a year. And he must have had a daughter my age, because whenever he came, he would say to Calvin Mark Lee, who was the head of A&R for Mercury Records, make sure Angie's there. She gets around, she talks to all these people. Okay. We need to know what she thinks. So it kind of gave me a bit of an entree And I helped close the deal for Space Oddity, which Lou Reisner was stopping.
Okay. Right.
And
so can you remember looking at this man and thinking, you know, wow?
No.
No. Oh, right, okay.
No, I was busy studying. So the first time I saw the band, it was in Three Feathers. I mean, he had a band called Feathers, but there was 3 of them in it, and it was kind of like Three Feathers because one was a dancer, one was a singer-songwriter with a 12-string, 11-string harp tone guitar, and then a great lead guitarist called, he was called Hutch. I'm not sure what his first name was.
But people are fascinated to know, because I read your book, and the things you say about David Bowie, for example, you said a combination of great delicacy and great strength. You said very startling, sexy, unusual, powerful young man, beautiful, charming, talented, intelligent, sexually precocious, ambitious.
Well, that was when I actually got to know him.
Okay.
Calvin Mark Lee, then he broke up with Feathers and with Hermione, and this broke his heart. And Space Oddity was coming out. So you can understand an A&R man called Dr. Calvin Mark Lee, who's a doctor of chemistry, who's decided he's going to come to London and merge chemistry and the arts. Berkeley, they were a little hippy-dippy. So at that point, he decided that I would help. This was, now I had to help. I got the deal for Space Oddity, so now I had to cheer him up. And all of those sweet, nice things that I said are absolutely true, because as I got to know him, I really liked him. I understood why he was unhappy. He had learned how to ballet dance so that he could partner with Hermione.
Right.
So, I mean,
Hermione was his girlfriend.
It was his girlfriend, and his devotion.
Okay.
So he was just totally upset and unhappy, and so all our job was to try to make him feel better so that he could go ahead and promote Space Oddity.
So initially the relationship was a business one.
Yes.
And then it blossomed into...
Yes, then it got exciting, and I was a youngster. I couldn't have been more than 18 by this point. I mean, I'd been at college already for a year and a half, and I was like, wow, this is a bit much. And he was all of those things. His songs appealed to me. The fact that he wrote his own songs, that he wasn't someone that had to have them written for him, made me know that he was a great bet for Mercury Records. They would do well. And
so what year did you get married?
1970.
Right.
I had gone away. I had gone back to Cyprus to be with my mom and dad, and there was a postal strike in England. So I never heard from him. The phones didn't work. And then the postal strike stopped, and I got this envelope, and in it was a postcard, and it said, "This year we will marry." And I thought, righty-ho then, jolly good. And as I put it down, and as I kind of went to find my mom and to tell her about this weird thing, the phone went. And he said, "Did you get my letter?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Okay, well, never mind the letter, because I mean that. But now I want you to hear this song I wrote for you." And he played Prettiest Star down the phone with Mark Bolan putting the lead guitar on it from the studios. Nice. It was very cool, and that kind of melted my heart.
Is that the ultimate for a woman, for a man to write a song dedicated to her?
I don't think so, but it sure perked me up as opposed to the postcard saying, "This year we will marry." I was like, excuse me? What about asking?
Yeah.
No. No such luck.
I was watching you in Celebrity Big Brother, and they were playing this game where you had to attach a fact to a celebrity, right? And the fact that was attached to you was the fact that you were late for your own wedding because you were involved in a threesome.
Yes, it's true.
Right.
It's true, and she was a gorgeous girl, too. And I'm not going to say another word.
Okay, fine.
After all these years trying to be discreet, right?
Right.
What? I did that once, you know, with the girl that I had an affair with at college. So she wanted to get back together and have lunch. So we had lunch, and she said, "Why did you leave my name out of your book?" I said, I thought you'd be angry if I mentioned your name. She said, "I'm angry that you didn't." You can't win for losing, can you? You're like a moron. I thought I was being so diplomatic and...
So, the year after you got married, you had a baby.
Yeah.
Zoe. Zoe Bowie.
No, Duncan Zoe Hayward.
Right.
Jones.
Right. That's...
But the rest was, a little bit of promotion.
Whose idea? Oh, was it?
No.
Yeah.
It was, it wasn't anyone's idea. It was because I said, well, Zoe means life in Greek. So if it's a girl or a boy, we can call him Zoe. And David said, oh, I like that. That's great. We'd been to Cyprus. He loved it very much.
People would say that those years between 1970 and 1976 were David Bowie's most creative, and he produced his best work. And that's when you were around and you were sort of in love and happy.
Sort of, very in love.
Yeah. So do you think you had a huge influence on him? Were you his muse?
I would never say that. I don't know about that. I shared his life and worked very hard to make him worldwide and international and a big star.
Right.
So if I succeeded, that's down to all of you to say, oh, she didn't do a bad job. But I was just trying to work forward, play forward.
Yeah.
Just trying to keep it up.
Why did the marriage break down?
I think...
It was an open marriage, wasn't it?
It was an open marriage, and it was fine for quite a long time. No one took liberties. But I think the drugs didn't help, and I didn't appreciate being called in to fix messes, which always involved some kind of misunderstood adventure he'd gotten himself into. Right. And on several occasions, they were adventures with other women, and so it became like he was being rude.
Okay. Right.
And I don't want to talk about any of the bad stuff, because I'm sure everyone here has amazingly fond memories, as I do, of David on stage, of David's songs.
Yes.
So, thank you. Forgive me.
Amazing.
Forgive me, I just...
Okay, listen, Celebrity Big Brother. Why did you do it?
Well, I did it because I've got a new book that I'm writing called The Adventures of Lily Bounty, and I live in one of those weird American gated communities with 2 cats and my husband, Michael. I thought about it. You don't talk to anyone. The only people you ever talk to is when you go to the store. I thought, how can I make character portraits that are full and 3-dimensional?
So it's research.
When you don't talk to anyone.
Research for your book.
Right. Well, they offered it to me out of the blue about 9-10 months ago. They had offered it every year before, and every time I would look at it and try to get excited, and it just made me feel ill. So I said no. And I said no, and I said no, and I said no. And then finally, I thought, well, if you're stuck with your character development, there's 16 people there, including you.
Did you know any of them?
I knew David Guest.
That was it?
Which I had no idea. I knew him. I didn't know he was going to be on the show.
Because you knew real celebrities. Just give us some of the names that you hung out with. Like,
I didn't. I never hung out with celebrities. All I did was get up early and work.
But you mentioned Mark Bolan there.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that was David's friend. I'm sorry, I don't consider him a celebrity. I just consider him...
Yeah, but Mick Jagger.
David's friend.
Yeah, Mick Jagger, David's friend.
Mick Jagger was David's friend, too. I never had...
Lou Reed.
Now, Lou Reed I worked with for Transformer. I arranged the housing and all of that, and he had an amazing affair going on with a pair of twins, a boy and a girl. Even I was
impressed.
Gobsmacked. I was like, damn, one of each. I didn't know what to say. I was like, well, okay. But he was very, he liked working with me. And he insisted that I come to the photo shoot, insisted that I style it, and then later was very generous with his praise. I'm sorry, am I talking too much?
No, you're not at all. No, we're running out of time.
Sorry, guys.
So it must have been, inside the Big Brother house, heightened emotions and all that. So to find out that David had died, that must have been horrific, was it?
I just didn't quite know what to do, to be honest. I really didn't. I had no idea what to do. I didn't know if I should come. Should I come? Should I go? I just didn't know what to do. And then I heard, they told me, I did not hear this from Michael himself, but I heard from my agent that the British press had been calling Michael all Saturday night. Michael's my husband.
Yes.
And then when I talked to Michael, he said, oh, yes, not only all Saturday night, but all Sunday night, and all months. And I thought,
He's an engineer. He wasn't too happy.
Yeah, he wasn't
Not in the
impressed at
business,
all.
yeah,
He was
yeah.
just like horrified, and I thought,
And then it became farcical, didn't it? Because
oh, because of Tiffany having a fit and thinking it was David Guest.
yes,
I tell this girl, she said to me, you look upset, what's going on? I see you were huddled over there with John Partridge. I said, well, Tiff, funnily enough, something very bad has happened, and it's something I don't really need to discuss with anyone. And I looked at her, and I could see that look on her face, and I thought, oh, she's going to throw a fit. I might as well just tell her. I said, David has died. And she said, wah! Wah, wah! I thought any minute she'll fall on the floor. That's where we usually go from wah, wah.
have you seen that? Have you seen what happened after?
No.
Have you-
So then,
Right.
I thought, I better comfort her. So I'm giving her I felt like, you know,
Yeah.
giving the old back pats, and then she turned around and she looked at me and she said, oh, you're joking.
Oh, no.
I said, you think I would joke about somebody dying? I'm talking about my ex-husband, David Bowie. Who did you think I was talking about? You said David Guest. I said, no.
No, you didn't. No.
I said David. I heard David Guest. I said, oh, like you thought I didn't know when I explained to you that I didn't know you were a judge. And
How
on
are
it
you
went.
now? And would you do reality TV again?
I don't think so.
No.
And I don't mean to close doors, but you know what I'm saying here? If that happened the first time, think what could happen the second time. And carry me out.
It's been amazing. Angie Bowie, ladies and gentlemen, Angie Bowie.
Thank you.
Here we are, here we are. You'll have to come back and find the roots.
Thanks, Ray.
Stay there for a sec, yeah. Time for a bit of music now. They're a Dublin-based Roots outfit. They're going to perform their new single.